Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Band of Badgers, and this is the Great British Brush Off. We are, I was going to say we are back, we're always here, but returning is Turbo Dork. How you doing? But this time Meredith's joined us. How you doing, Meredith? How you doing, Greg?
Good,
Pretty
good.
good.
Fantastic, good.
Yeah.
They are together, but they're separate because of sound issues, and they're going to be painted different things. So we'll keep them separate for now, but they're here to answer your questions. And there's Steve. How you doing, Steve?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
And that's enough from Steve. So we'll crack it on. Short and sweet, as always. Now, for those of you who joined us live, thank you very much. We are going to be talking to Meredith and Greg from Turbo Dog. Of course, that's why you're here. We are also going to be attempting to, you can see from our screens, we're going to attempt to paint some dragons. These things are massive. I've got so many holes in my fingers at the moment because they are super sharp as well. They don't bite, but they're prickly. They sting. So thank you very much to WizKids for sending this over to us and to Turbo Dog. But that's pretty much it. So those of you who are joining live, if you have questions, do put them into the live chat now. Or as we talk about things, you might have a question pop in your head. Put it into the live chat. We'll put it on screen, and that will go to Meredith and Greg to answer because hopefully they know the answers because I won't. But we'll go that way. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much for watching this on YouTube. That's why we're here. If you have any questions, don't worry that you've missed out on the live stream. Put your questions in the comments below, and then I'll send them over to Turbo Dork, and hopefully they will know the answers for you. And that's about it. We're going to get over the introductions now. We're going to we'll get into the dragons in a sec, but we'll have a quick chat with our guests. So Meredith, how are you? How's things at Turbo Dork? And this is your first time on the Badgers.
I am. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I'm really glad this worked out.
No, it's good. Again, thank you for joining us. Hopefully we impressed Greg enough that you have returned.
Well, you also made the promise of dragons, and dragons are my favorite thing to paint, specifically these WizKid dragons. I don't call them minis; they're kind of middies. You know, Maxi would be the giant Tiamat that I have.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm doing good. I will apologize in advance. I had a root canal this morning, so the Novocaine seems like it's slowly wearing off, but you know, it's fine. I'm still dribbling a little bit of water out of my mouth when I drink. But no, things at Turbo Dork have been going really, really great and insanely well. I wish I could say I knew more about the day-to-day, but unfortunately, I had to take a little step back from the day-to-day business at Turbo Dork because I am now also the CEO of Steve Jackson Games. So
you say sadly, it's like, oh, I had to. It's Steve Jackson Games. That's fantastic.
I was so honored when Steve approached me and asked me if I had any interest in coming aboard and taking the helm of his company. And we did it with the tacit understanding that I'd still be heavily involved in Turbo Dork. But it's great because it's Greg and I's business, Turbo Dork. I can just wake up in the morning, roll over and say, hey, babe, here's your marching orders. And he goes on his day.
Fantastic. So over to you, Greg. That was a nice introduction there.
Yeah, things have been going great. It's been a really nice couple of weeks of doing a lot of research and development, and I am so excited for all the stuff we have coming. So thank you for having us back so we can show off some of the cool new toys we've got. specifically over on Meredith's camera, you can see our two new like bluey greens that we're working on, Leviathan and Peacock. But
Let's see if we can shove those onto a big screen. You might get a big me at the second, and then I'll move that across there, and there we go. Look at that. That's a dead golem as well. A dragon is spinning around. It's all going wrong.
I know.
That is. So, are these shifters? Are these metallics? What are these? They look beautiful.
Yeah, so these are our turbo shifts. Peacock on the right is more of like a blue to green, and then Leviathan is more of like a green to blue. They're both in the same vein, and they kind of do opposite things, but they have the same kind of palette. And then we airbrush the dragon with mostly Leviathan and a couple kind of like faded stripes of Peacock.
Wow.
I like the Vanna White.
Yeah, I know. That's what I do, apparently.
But yeah, I think it's been going really well. So we've been able to like, sit down and kind of work on like new stuff, which it's hard to do. We're a company of 4 people. So we wear a lot of hats.
Fantastic. So as we mentioned at the start, we are attempting to paint these dragons. They are immense. Now, WizKids sent over, I believe, Steve, you've got one as well. Steve's got a blue dragon. Meredith has got the blue dragon as well. And this one, the one I've got, is a bronze dragon, but I'm going to paint it red because why not? But now, so I'm going to, let me switch over to my camera. And we're going to, I will show you. So as everyone knows, I'm the beginner painter, but I've never ever painted anything this big. This is the biggest mini. I've painted the Frost Giant from Steamforged Games Epic Encounters. This is twice the size, or at least twice the footprint. This is epic sized. Now my idea today, while we're live, I'm going to paint the head, the neck, and this kind of breastplate. Now this, you can see how big and how detailed this thing is. Now my plan is, although I'm going to paint this red, the wings are eventually going to be red, normal red. I'm going to use Turbo Dork Afterburner, which is a shifter, the Turbo Shift paint, which has a different gleam. You can kind of see it there, kind of gleam on there. Now to do that, I'm going to paint this black first, a matte black, and then this is going to be painted over the top to get the shifter paints. That's my approach. Meredith, you've already kind of you said pre-sprayed.
Yeah.
What are you going to attempt to do on camera live today?
Well, I'm going to want to pick out some more parts and add Peacock. And one of the things I actually really love to do with our Turbo Shift paints is dry brush with them, especially on top of another complementary shift. So I'm probably going to start pulling out some parts where I want to see a little bit more of the blue versus the green. And I may or may do that first, or I might do a coat of black gloss wash, because then when I do the dry brush on top, it'll show the peacock a lot more. And then we're going to decide what contrast I want in the wings. I've got shifting sands. I have dark net. Maybe I'll go for a bit more of like a grunge look. I also have afterburner. So
Nice.
I tend to like to not do everything in metallic. I do like to bring in some mattes. So for my mattes, I brought in some yellows from my buddy Ryan, who does cuttlefish colors. And he's got these really neat glazing paints that I'm going to experiment with. Oh, yeah, if you can make this flat, this would be great.
Did you say cuttlefish?
Cuttlefish. Like a little cuttlefish.
I've not heard of them before.
So Ryan, when did he come out with these paints? Maybe like 3 years ago. They are distributed exclusively through Creature Caster Miniatures, and they're starting to show up in a lot of FLGSs in Canada and the US. And Greg and I got to meet Ryan last year at Warfare Weekend, and he's a wonderful bloke. He's from Ireland. Lives now in the US, and we really bonded, and it's great because he makes his own paint. He has his own paint company. We have our own paint company. We talk. We share ideas. We work. We have 2 different companies, but it's not a competition, and he really fosters the same type of environment that Greg and I want to create in this industry. So we're really happy to work with and promote Ryan whenever we get a chance, and just showcase another indie brand of paint out there. and his
Fantastic.
specialty is really glazing. So, and that's something I started learning earlier this year, is how to glaze up when I paint.
Well, that might have to you might have to come back and teach us how to do that, because so everything we try to do, I know it looks complicated, but trust me, it's just magic in a bottle. When you have a go at these paints, or just painting in general, it looks amazing. So to any beginner, I always say you've just got to dive in and have a go.
TurboDork makes it so easy. When Greg came
Yeah.
to me with this idea and showed me what he made, and I'm like, I haven't painted a mini since 1996, and that was with testers enamels. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I laid down, really, I think it was not Afterburner. It was ground as lava on one of the red dragons. And I had so much fun. I was like, oh my God, look, I made something cool. And it actually reignited my love for painting. And now I like go to conventions and take painting classes from
Yep.
all the great people. And it really inspired me to start painting again.
Fantastic. And we'll cross over to Steve. Steve, you are kind of we've now been you've officially labelled as the intermediate painter.
It is, yes, I have, haven't
Yeah.
I?
How are you going to attack the blue dragon? What are you going to do first?
Well, I'm going to change my camera over first so that you can actually see it, which would be good.
That'll work.
There we go. Right, let's go back to StreamYard. So I am going to use the shifters on the scales.
Yeah.
I'm
just
sorry,
gonna
I'm
make
going to
your
use
screen
Turbo
bigger.
Dork on the scales because there's a lot of skin on this model. You know, there's a lot of skin and everything. So I'm going to do that in speed paint. Probably not today in any huge detail. I'm going to do the same as you and concentrate around the head, because there's some lovely scale detail work here with the crenellations and call it the ears, but it's not, it's the horns. And then pick out this with different shades of Turbo Dork. So I've gone for Bee's Knees,
Very nice. Yeah.
Ice to Never, and then a darker blue in Cool Ranch. And then somehow I want to try and get in Gordian Knot and Purple People Here, because I love Purple People Here. I'm not sure where yet, but it'll be some of the little details. So that's what I'm going for. And then if I get to the speed paint, just speed paint up the legs and the wing struts and arms.
Fantastic.
That's
Right.
the plan.
Now, what we're going to do, because it's kind of like a chat and kind of painting as well. Greg, do you have anything to paint? Do you have anything at all to paint? You're going to sit there and you are literally going to have a chat and watch paint dry. I love it.
I might Photoshop some images.
Find some stuff, yeah. So, in the background, I'm going to play some lovely sounds of elven music. If it's
Nice.
too loud for people, do let me know. If it's too loud for the audience, let us know in chat, because we don't want to. It's chirpy birdie noises and streams and all kinds of stuff, but it's that kind of calm background noise while we crack on with things. Now, we have other stuff to talk about, as we mentioned, and you can see some various bits and pieces on Merida's table. You can see bits and pieces on my table. We're going to get to that. We're going to kind of eke it out slowly, but for right now, we're just going to see how this goes. And if you're watching us on YouTube, again, if you just tuned into us on YouTube, just with your own painting, maybe a few weeks from the date that we've recorded this, that's fine. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments below. Just keep those questions coming. Now, we do have a question already. I will put this up on screen now. This is from Dragonborn Industries, and they are asking, what has been your favorite color that as a company you have created so far?
Ooh.
That's always a tough question, because it's always like,
What's your
What is your
favorite
favorite?
child?
yeah, what's
Who's your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Who's your
the most
favorite cat?
recent one, right? I don't know. Like, if you asked out of any creative, like the most favorite project is the one you're probably thinking about right now, right? For us,
Is it the one now, or is it the next one?
Or is it the
You mean
next one?
that there's always the next? You kind of halfway through a project and you go, oh yeah, but I've got an idea. Now it's the next
That's
one.
true. Although I can't talk about that stuff yet.
Maybe in the new year.
I mean,
Well,
honestly,
I can easily talk about. I don't have one. I have two. So, and out of 80 colors, so one of my all-time favorites is actually the first color I created for TurboDork, which is Bubblegum Crisis.
Oh, let's put this up
And
on screen.
Bubblegum is
There we go.
it's it's a Zenny shift. So over white, it's going to appear one color. Over black, it's going to appear another. And over white, it's like a beautiful like bubblegum pink. And on black, it's like a rose gold. So you really get this. I don't know. It's just it's such a me color. I love rose gold. I love pink. So, but then I didn't create this color. Greg did, and it's sick and disgusting, and I love it. It's called Hemogoblin. It's another one of our Zenny shifts,
Yeah.
and it's a red orange over white and a green over black. I don't know why my camera is looking really
That's
the
my bad.
resolution's bad. I hope it's better for all of you.
That was coming out
Um,
fine. Yeah.
and yeah, so okay, good. So, and it's another Zenny shift, and the dragon's packed up because we're shipping it to Pax Unplugged for next month. But I did a steam forged dragon in Hemogoblin. It was like my 2 hour dragon paint. Everyone loves that thing. I love that thing. So these are my two favorite colors. I love them. They're my workhorses.
That is awesome. We have Big Tough Pete, who's in the audience. He says he's been looking at hemoglobin, as he says, hemoglobin. It's very cool.
Yeah, Hemogoblin's fun. It's like it turns everything on its head because you get to go from like red to like a green, and it's a really poignant kind of color palette for the miniature gaming world. Um, and the way the Zenny shifts work is really nice to kind of bring like an extra layer of detail to the way you would work with a shift. Because normally if you do a shift, it's kind of an all over thing, which I should recommend for you guys because this is you're painting on stream with some of our shifts. Make sure to check out on the side of the bottle what kind of base coat it requires. In most cases, it's black if it's a shift. So, like Afterburner will say, must be applied over black undercoat. So you're going to have to put a layer of black down before you can put Afterburner on. Otherwise, Afterburner is just going to be kind of a weird red thing.
Yeah.
A lot of our shifts do that. So People Eater, put it over purple. It could be over anything because it's a regular metallic. But the shifts, because they're like liquid crystals, they kind of need to be over black in most cases to kind of do the refraction of light thing like they're supposed to.
So what's the like when I first found out about you and you were kind enough to send some paints over to have a play with, I did not understand what shifting paint was. I've seen it on cars, and that was the only kind of connection I could make. These fancy cars where they change in color. What's the science behind the magic? How does it work, or why does it work?
It essentially works by, like I was saying, it's a prism. So they're laboratory grown, basically coatings that go over mica crystals. And depending on how that coating is grown, certain colors will either refract or reflect. So if you get light, like usually the way you see a shift is you have to have light from multiple angles. So you have to have some light from the front, and you have to have light from the side or light from the back. And that like light from the side or the light from the back refracts off of the surface and bounces towards your eye, and the coating is grown in a certain way that in the case of say peacock, it reflects green. But then if it's light directly from the front, due to that prismatic effect, it reflects blue. And so it's combining those different coating wavelengths to give you the different palettes. There's certain colors you tend towards more often. Like I think we've come up with 18 different ground as lavas by accident. But other stuff is a lot harder. Like you can't really do deep reds or blacks. We have some stuff like Galaxia that's like a purple to black, but that's like our only one, and that took a really long time to do. It's just a lot of trial and error. I mean, same thing with most art. I think before we even started Turbo Dark, it was something like 500 different formulations we went through to start. And we've literally got bins and bins and bins of spoons that I've been spraying over the years of all the different tests. It's a lot of trial and error. But in terms of like my favorite color, to go to that original question, I think it was blue raspberry, because that was one of our it's like our most active shift, so to speak, and it just really looks good on camera. It looks really good in person, and it's just dynamic. But like you were saying, it was like my favorite project is probably the one we're working on right now, which we can't talk about until like August. But yeah, which is a little frustrating. I wish I could be more honest about what we have back here without tipping our hand to other companies.
Yeah, yeah.
Here's a question on that. Do you find that so recently with other paint companies, this year has been about speed paints?
Yep.
And every company has done contrast paints, speed paints, that kind of thing.
We're not doing contrast paints.
No, it is. Do you? Well, you mentioned like to keep things top secret.
Mm-hmm.
Is it that competitive a market out there for paint companies or small paint companies?
Painting is a super competitive market now.
Right.
I think it's amazing. It's a really great time to be a hobbyist. You have spoil of riches. It's like the number of
Tons of
choices
choice.
you have for everything is crazy compared to 30 years ago when I started in the hobby. I mean, back then it was Citadel and Testers and
Hobby, like paint from the craft store
paint from the
or
craft,
artist paint.
Apple Barrel, for $1,
Yeah.
Walmart or something. And now there's 10 professional paint lines, and it's a very busy space, and you really need to innovate. And I think we lucked out with TurboDork. We made something that wasn't there and nobody had done, and nobody has really done all that well. A couple other companies have come out with shifting paints, but it's not really their concentration.
Yeah.
But I think there's something like 6 different contrast, speed, express, antithesis, instant potion. I'm probably forgetting some. Everyone's kind of tried to do their version of that, and I think it's amazing. I love slap chop. I love painting with speed paints and contrast paints and express colors.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're a great asset to the hobby, and I wish we'd come out with a line 5 years ago like that. But at this point, everyone's kind of got their take on it, and a lot of the companies are also just kind of copying each other's colors, and
Yeah.
a lot of what we do is we're trying to make stuff that nobody else has. So the new stuff we're concentrating on is something that just isn't out there and has not been covered well in the painting world. But it is not kind of paint. Yeah, that definitely feels like almost everybody has a paint line now, to some extent. But that having been said, it's really good. Like Army painters completely redoing their paint line, their Fanatic paints, and I think that's
I
really
can't wait to try those out.
yeah.
The new
That can't be easy to do as a company at their scale,
Yeah, I mean, we talked to we had Adam
Oh,
from Army
yeah.
Painter. We've had him on our show a few times, and he's always a pleasure to talk to, and
Adam
he's great.
Is
And
fantastic.
yeah, Army Painter have been great for us and with us, so we're always happy to hear big all their news and bits and pieces. But it's it's nice to see that there is friendly companies out there, but also friendly competition.
Yeah.
Because when we had before we went live, we were talking about your warehouse, your factory kind of setting. It looks more like a brewery.
Yeah.
You've got all these bits and pieces. Is that how you mix your paint, brew your paint? Is it
So
big
the
vats of them, or is it
the
smaller scale?
crossover of learning how to bottle paint with like food production and brewing is surprisingly like they go together very well. We actually have a lot of brewing supplies that we use in our bottling process. Like we've got custom made vats from a company called Bubba's Barrels that they make brewing supplies. A lot of the same
Nice.
connectors. There's like a tri-wing connector on a lot of our equipment. That's the same thing that they use for sanitary connections on brewery equipment.
Yeah.
There's a surprising amount of crossover. The big thing for us has been what we're working on right now is we got a big new automated filling machine that fits on a 4-foot by 8-foot desk that we're getting up and running because previously we've done everything by hand here for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's 2 or 3 of us in a line. We have a big TV, thankfully, giving us some entertainment. But you grab a bottle, you put a ball bearing in it, you fill it, You put it there. The next person puts the tip and the cap on it, tightens it, and then it gets put on a conveyor belt to go get labeled. But now we're going to have a machine that we can just dump bottles into and tips into, and it puts everything, does it all for you. So we can do twice the amount of paint with half the number of people. We just can't keep up with the demand, and we kind of had to automate at some point. So that's big stainless thing, all the brewery equipment that kind of goes with it. Yeah.
But that's one of those nice problems, as you say. You can't keep up with demand, so you have to get some. You have to invest bigger machines.
Yep.
To do the work for you, so you can handle that demand. But that's a nice problem to have.
It's a scary problem too when you're such a small company and you realize you're starting to play in the bigger space,
the bigger world. Yeah.
I mean, there was a video of the Army Painter studio, where they've got 3 filling lines running 24/7. It's like that's the dream for us, but they're like 20 times the size we are as a company. But it's fun to be, able to kind of compete in that same space, though. It's like we're all friends, and we all, a whole rising tide is all ships kind of thing. I think it also challenges us all to do better too. It's one of those things of like, we're coming out with this new formula. We've got some new colors. We got new bottles. Like we're really trying to level up as well, just in the same way that they were.
Yeah, I mean that's something really interesting is, again, since a lot of this was like Greg learning from the ground up, and now Greg going to paint formulation school, and us, me coming into it and learning about this stuff is we're very open about the challenges we faced, and we had a freezing problem, and then we worked on fixing that, and then we've had a lot of feedback about the consistency of our paint, and next year we're going to be debuting a brand new base formula, and I'm excited. That's actually what I'm painting with right now. The coverage is insane. It airbrushes as well as it hand brushes. I'm over the moon, and it took a long time for us to get to this point, but I'm so glad that we held ourselves to a high standard in our but to the same extent our fans and the people who love Turbo Dork have been very understanding of us, and while continuing to hold us to a high standard, believing in us that we want to create and make better paint for everyone. That's very subtle, but I see the difference there where I've added Peacock onto Leviathan. Now to pull it out some more.
Yeah, they are pretty close, so it's not going to be as like A-B kind of big.
No, you see it more in the shifts. The reason I love Peacock and Leviathan is because they play off of each other, and you can use one to highlight the other if you really want to pull that shift. Now what am I gonna do? I'm gonna use 51st Shade. Are you a glaze or you're a sketch? Good.
So there was another question coming. It was how many colours does Turbo Dork sell, and do you retire colours?
We do. We have 72 right now. We had 80 as of June, or prior to this. We've retired a few colors to kind of make way for this new reformulation.
Yeah.
It was a good time for us to look back and be like, okay, we happen to love Peachy Keen, but we didn't even sell one batch an entire year.
Right.
Maybe we should come out with a different color that's going to sell better, and put that out there. Because one of the things you start having to worry about, weirdly enough, learning about this as a business, is you have to think about what's going to work for retailers and distributors as well. If it was just us putting out colors online, we'd probably have hundreds, because we could just put out whatever we want that looks cool, and kind of throw it against the wall and see what sticks. And over time, we've gotten enough data from, selling through distribution that certain colors like seafood just didn't do well, or Peachy Keen. So we retired a few colors. We're coming out with 8 new ones with this reformulation in kind of January, February time period. But we're going to kind of stick to that 80 for a while. This was just kind of like a hopeful, like last time we have to kind of, get rid of something to kind of then shore up the rest so they're better for retailers. I mean, 80 colors is all at once kind of a lot, but also like there's still a lot
Nothing.
of cover, So probably 200 would make sense, but that's a lot.
That is a lot of colours.
Uh-huh.
Are you do you have to produce them in batches as well? You know, you talked about the brewing industry. The brewing industry is a
Right.
batch process.
Yes.
Yep.
So
So
one of the
when you
issues-
make a colour, is it one at a time, or do you, out of that formula, do you get a number of colours?
So we do 6 colors a day when we're bottling,
Okay.
about 350 bottles each, and that's about the limit we can do right now by hand. We're hoping to double that by doing the automation. So we'll do about 700 bottles per color. But yeah, that's the other thing too, right? Is like cycling, right? If you've got 80 colors, you're always making those colors. I can't imagine having the 200 colors. You know, you're going to be, well, hopefully we have like 5 people here and we're producing stuff 24/7, you know, so to speak. But there's a limit, you know, we've had to be very careful with our growth over the years that like we can only take on, you know, maybe one more new distributor every year and only a certain number of stores because we want to be able to actually provide the paint to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing more frustrating than like wanting something in the hobby and not being able to get it. You know, as we've all found out about like Games Workshop products over the last, you know, year during the pandemic of like, you know, it's cool that all this stuff's coming out, but if you can't get it, it kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So we've been very careful about that. But yeah, it's definitely a batch process. We're going to be doubling the batches that we make, which is going to be amazing because we won't be making paint every single moment of every single day like we have been doing just to keep up.
Yeah.
Which gives us this time for doing the R&D and for, you know, being able to stream more. And, you know, like we had that little bumper video at the beginning, you know, that was my first attempt at filming here in the studio and like, you know, teaching myself DaVinci Resolve to like cut together an ad, you know, in video.
I love the music on it. I love the music on it. It's,
Thank you.
It's a great choice. So here's a quick thing. For those of you who are joining us on YouTube, or even if you're joining us live, if you're painting, let us know what you're painting. We'd like to know. Put it in the comments, in the live chat or in the comments below. But we mentioned the video. Would you like to see the video again? For those of you who haven't seen it yet or wasn't here at the beginning,
You get to see
here's Greg's hand modeling. Here we go.
Yes.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
There we go. It's weird. You put the trailer on, it's like, that's it. You're straight into it. Yeah. Are you gonna have that at conventions, like a big screen, some big bass speakers, and just?
Oh my god, that'd be great. No, we
just walk out. Here we are.
we have some judgment in chat.
We have some judgment. Oh no.
Cuticle care, right? I know.
Oh no.
I keep telling him he should come with me to the salon. Not that I should say anything
Really
right
should.
now. My nails are a mess.
I gotta step it up.
Yeah, you really do. Yo, look, I was a jewelry model for like 2 years on a shopping network. It is very important. Cuticle care is 10/10, and always a French manicure. No one wants nail polish, but we're shiny paints. We could just paint our nails with our paint.
Isn't French the one where you get like the white tip?
Yeah,
Yes.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I have like a loathing for it now.
I actually did like tests with different colors of like rubber glove to see if like it would look cool if I had like pink gloves doing.
No, it's weird looking.
It looks really weird.
It always reminds me of Payday. When I see people wearing like
Yes.
blue rubber gloves, it's
Yeah.
Payday. They're going to rob a bank. That's what they do.
Exactly. Yeah, Greg's first idea when he was like, "Oh, I'll start building a streaming presence. I'm going to be a faceless person with just black rubber gloves." I'm like, "That's weird and creepy, and nobody wants that."
I was gonna be like MF Doom or like wear a mask or something, and I was like,
No, that was cool.
that could
but-
have been cool.
That could have been
still be
cool. Could have danger mouse this out, but no, it was starting to look a little creepy.
I mean,
Like,
fair.
I forget the city in England, but apparently recently some guy has been banned from wearing his gimp suit out in public for like 2 years in a city in England because he just wears gimp suit out in some small like town out of Surrey or whatever, and
that is true. That is true. It's been in all the local news and papers and things like that. It's yeah, he's not a young man either.
no, he's not.
Did he wear it well?
Yeah.
Uh,
You're crossing the road, you know, popping
Yeah.
into the get a coffee and like, oh, what's what's that? That's interesting.
you could make that into your like painting shtick. You know, you could
I
always
know,
wear
right?
it on stream or something like that.
Different type of world here.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't you like I know random weird news stories out of across the pond?
Yeah. I mean, what channels do you tune into? That's not my news feed.
You know, a lot of the Sun. No, just kidding. There's actually a news aggregating site called Fark.com, and it's like
Fark.
upvotes of like interesting, weird news stories. And I am a longtime Farker, and I saw that headline appear, and I just got a kick out of that.
Fantastic. I will have to check that out afterwards.
Yeah, it's good.
It seems to be doing the rounds because Kelly's heard of it as well. Kelly said the gimp story is hilarious.
Oh my gosh! See, it's gotten around.
Let's see. Something. Oh, goth life. Oh yeah. I mean, both Meredith and I come from the goth world. Thus wanting to have, you know, black gloves and black clothes, black whatever, all black everything.
I realize no one's watching what I'm actually doing because I have to put it so close to my face that in the camera angle.
Oh.
So here's an interesting tidbit about me. I had eye surgery earlier this year, and it's great because I no longer have permanent double vision. However, it is very hard to see up close with my contacts on.
There's a knob at the top that you can lower the camera to.
Yeah, I just fixed it. People can stare into my nose. It's fine.
So we
It's
had
hard to figure out how to put all the stuff in place. Like I was still working on that studio section right there because it's like, yeah, how do you get a position where you can film but still actually paint somewhat naturally? It's really hard.
yes, I would agree with that. However, pretty much all of my painting, it's very rare I do painting off stream, but all of my painting has been on stream.
Oh wow!
For this show, and that was the premise of this show. The part of this show was to say when Steve and Joe tried to convince me to do miniature painting, and I'd never touched it before. Joe was into Warhammer, and Steve was kind of dabbled with bits and pieces. It was the only way that I could think of it, and I woke up in the middle of the night. I said, I've got it. We're going to rip off the Bake Off, and we're going to do the Great British Brush Off, and then we're going to talk to people from all around the world. And they can teach me how to paint because there's no other way I'm going to do it, and it works.
Okay,
so
we're going to pivot here. I have to ask: do you guys actually watch GBBO? Are you watching the current season? Okay,
yeah, I am. Yeah.
Is it like it just feels a little boring? It's a little like I know we're like
it's
a
all
week
a bit
behind.
samey. Yeah,
it's all very samey, and I've actually I've figured out the tropes of contestants that they always aim for. And I mean, like, look, I'm really into a couple people, but I've just not been into this season as much. I do love the new host. She's brilliant. I like her and Noel together, but the contestants, I don't know. I still love it, but it's just feeling a little.
It's like it's fine, you know. It's like nobody likes out. There's no tall poppies to like, you know, root for. I don't know. It's been weird.
It's become safe.
Yeah,
it's a very safe show. We did have a question on which we on screen, which you haven't got to ask it yet. So Aspire Painting is asking, what about a black gloss wash? And they say it's just repeating my questions from Adepticon. So they must have spotted you there. They must have seen you.
Did you see me running our booth on my own for like 4 days, like with my cut off? Oh my god. I survived on chicken fingers and pizza from that concession stand outside the hall. So black gloss wash, yeah, there might be something that I can't talk about that's coming up next. That might involve glossy washes of colors, many colors. It's something that was out there, and we really like non-oil gloss. And we bought a whole bunch of bottles. Yeah, there's it's something I rebottled, I think.
Yeah.
We really like non-oil gloss for shading our paints. But then they discontinued it last summer, so we grabbed whatever we could, but we weren't able to keep suggesting it for our customers. So it'd be great if there was a product that we could suggest in the future for our customers to buy. Just
that you could buy when you buy your Turbodork paints.
yeah,
So,
in a very
fantastic.
similar area to where we might keep the Turbodork paints.
And very similar bottles too.
So yeah, I don't think anyone else is going to do that because nobody else really concentrates on metallics and stuff like we do. So it's
And look,
probably,
if somebody else wants to come out with a black gloss wash while we're developing ours, I will use the heck out of it if it's good, and I will thank them. But I think that's like the next natural step, right? Like we've got this line of really unique paints. Well, why don't we keep coming out with some stuff that's going to complement it?
yeah, we want to go full stack. Like
Yeah,
paint brushes, washes,
silicone popping palettes.
yeah. What else? I don't know.
Okay.
Everything.
Right.
Aprons. Don't want to do aprons. Haven't gotten around to that.
Aspire says that they've spoken to you at 5 conventions.
Oh my gosh.
So you
thanks for
definitely have a
stopping
fan.
I want to. When you stop by next time, you should say hi and say like, "Hey."
I'm Aspire from the show.
Aspire.
Well, we will be at PAX
Familiar.
Unplugged for those of you who are going to be attending the great Philadelphia game convention. So we'll be there.
Yeah, PAX Unplugged is a really fun convention. It's different than what we.
Love that show.
P3 Overwatch.
It was good, and it is not exactly what we're looking for, but man, I love those P3 paints.
Wait,
Anytime.
the zombie painting thing with Marcus?
Oh,
Wait. Aspire painting. Okay, your name seemed familiar.
at Warfare Weekend, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Oh my God, yeah. Which we're bummed to not be back at Warfare this weekend. I've been traveling so much with both companies, so that's so dope. Yeah, that zombie painting class was really cool.
Yeah, I wish
I
I
like
could.
zombies. That would have been a fun one.
It was how to do zombie skin, which is a really interesting. And Marcus, oh man, I don't remember his last name.
Marcus, Mr. gives me makes the best coffee.
Right, always brings his own coffee machine to conventions for everybody. And it was really interesting because he approached it as if what would actually happen to human skin as it was decomposing. So like, where does the blood pool and where does the rotting happen first, stuff like that. So it was like
Wow.
beautifully like detailed and juicy. Yeah, that was a really cool class. It was just like a bunch of us hanging out and like watching him paint and asking questions. It was so chill.
So when you do when you attend the conventions, do you just have a stand, or do you want to do like the live painting lessons, that kind of thing as well?
So we're kind of switching things up, I think. We have a booth that we travel with. Previously, it was like on a couple rolling carts that would fit in my truck. We just sold my truck because it was having some issues. So now we're shipping to our next couple conventions. But I think we're going to switch in the future to trying to do more teaching. We're going to probably try to send me out and teach people how to use our paints, because we've honestly reached kind of a saturation point with a lot of stores and people out here that like the people who want our paints kind of have it already. So we're looking for kind of new painters and new, I wouldn't just say new market, but like, it can be a little daunting to start learning how to do like a turbo shift on something. And if I could show people how to do it better, quicker in person, that kind of thing would be great. So yeah, I think we're definitely going to teach more classes. Right now, the bandwidth to do one or the other, so it's been kind of selling.
It's something that we've been trying to do here. We don't get as many conventions here in the UK, but we do have various small one-day conventions by the coast and seaside and bits and pieces like that. And we also have our own BadgerCon now. That's been going on so it's the 5th year next year. And we have different things going on. So we have one of our regular pro painters is Richard, who's known as Warrior Prince. And he has a pop-up shop. So he comes to BadgerCon, he has a pop-up shop, sells 3D printed minis to everyone, massive discount and everything else. Fantastic painter. And he's been there twice now. And we said, well, next time, why don't we do, as well as a pop-up shop, we'll do like a painting class. Because the idea at BadgerCon is it's basically a barbecue for 50 people. So next year we're going to do like a hog roast. We've got multiple tables. But rather than having all gaming, we'll just have, 3 hours, paint something.
Yeah.
And because we've got people like, if you're going to do live painting, I highly recommend WizKids. Of course I would.
Right.
But WizKids have always been very generous with us, and they're providing some minis that we can go, here's probably a bit like what you've got. You've got a bunch of elementals. Here's some zombies. Here's some ogres. Here's some orcs. Pick something you like. For 3 hours, go and paint it, and it's yours to keep.
Yeah.
It's a little super. It's something nice as well, because you remember, I did that. I didn't just go shopping. I didn't just sit in a theatre and listen to people talk or play games. I was actually involved. I did something, and I think the miniature painting live, getting so many different people around the table, it's actually really fun as well.
We did ReaperCon this past September, and it's Reaper minis and Reaper paints, and they had us selling paints. They also had other really amazing independent sculptors there selling their minis, and it is 3 days of painting and painting, just having fun. People, there's some open gaming areas, and it was so great to just immerse ourselves in that sort of environment. And I think we want to keep going back to ReaperCon, both to sell and attend. It's such a fun thing. Yeah. So that sounds like a really great plan for BadgerCon, honestly. And I think people are really going to enjoy it.
Cool. Yeah, I hope so. There's a lot of people who have, again, who when they come to the gaming tables that we've got the minis and they get interested in, it's such an easy hobby to pick up. That I've really enjoyed it. Again, I do it as a stream hobby, but the streaming, the whole Badger channel is part of a hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a social club. That's what we do here in the UK. We're players, because we're only a small channel. So it's nicer to get out and meet people and do it that way, I've found.
The US needs to pick up social clubs. We don't do that as much. It's weird.
Yeah, that's been my sort of dream here in where we're at in Texas, is I want to start like a little club and get a gaming space, that we can kind of all chip in and we can all have a place to go play at. There's been a couple like those in Los Angeles where we left, but it hasn't picked up like it should, I think, out here.
I was going to say, because you've got your warehouse, have you not got a corner where you could put a gaming table?
Not really.
No, we're actually we're outgrowing our warehouse. There's a real issue of in the next year we're going to have to expand. So the hope is one of our neighbors will leave and we can just move in to the place next door, so we can have one for production and one for warehousing and shipping. But
the particular mess to Meredith's left shoulder is my gray hoard that I've accumulated over the last decade. I'm slowly going through and selling on eBay because we just have run out of space here. And it's am I really going to get to that hobby or that project? It's probably not. Because we just need more room here. But everything takes up so much space when you get to this scale. It's oh, okay, we're going to have 8 55-gallon drums coming in. Where do we put those? But the hanging out and painting thing, I've seen it at conventions. ReaperCon is one of the best for that. But we actually went over to Steve Jackson's house last weekend, and we were just hanging out with him, painting miniatures. And
FYI, Steve Jackson of Steve Jackson Games, not Steve Jackson of Games Workshop, because
correct.
yes.
Different.
But they have worked on a book together.
Yes.
Whose name came first, or doesn't it matter?
I think
Steve,
they're
Steve
like 2
Jackson
months.
and Steve
They're like
Jackson.
literally 2 months apart. I think it's crazy how similar in age and industry they are.
It's
Well,
a clone.
I remember reading that book Dice Man, which was like the history of Games Workshop, and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it's written by, or one of the co-authors is Steve Jackson. And I was like, wow, I didn't know Steve Jackson helped start Games Workshop too. And they're just like, no,
I'm like,
Steve Jackson. And I was like, oh, good thing I didn't bring that up with him.
but both Steve Jacksons worked on Fantasy Flight books, and both of them wrote, like, they both worked on one together. So it's great. They have some really
Is he Trip?
funny stories.
What was the other game? Right, yeah, Steve Jackson
Yeah.
of Steve Jackson Games has written games for Steve Jackson of Games Workshop and vice
Yeah.
versa.
Yeah.
But yeah, we hung out at his house. We painted minis, and it was nice because we actually all painted our Pathfinder minis. So we actually have painted minis for our campaign.
Games. Yeah.
It's one of those weird little things I've always wanted to do since I was like 10 and never actually got around to doing. And we've had unpainted stuff for the last year for our campaign, but it was cool. Like we all showed up, we got painted, and like we played last Saturday, and it was like, this is cool. We actually have like the battlefield out there, and we've got the minis, and it was the proper Stranger Things experience of getting everybody together.
That's cool. So I mean, mentioning the other Steve Jackson of Fighting Fantasy and Games Workshop, who also teamed up with Ian Livingstone, or Sir Ian Livingstone, if you're watching, Sir Ian Livingstone. He's going to be at Dragon Meet. We got a convention coming up in December, the first weekend. So we're about 3 weeks away. It's a one-day convention.
Second of December.
Yeah. So Ian Jackson is going to be there again. It's always nice to see. Every time I go and talk to him, he's always eating a bacon sandwich, or bacon butty, as we say here. So I'm always getting him very early on at breakfast. And then earlier in the year for UK Games Expo, which is a 3 or 4 day event, it's one of the biggest ones we have here. It's our poor man's version of Gen Con. But it's good. It's a lot of fun. But Luke Gygax came over.
Oh,
and
cool!
Me and Steve got to hang out with him. We had dinner, we had drinks, we were playing D&D till well past midnight, and that was great fun. And Luke is coming back for the 1 day convention. So in 3 weeks, I'm hoping I can bump into Luke and go. Hopefully, he's going to bring his new book with him because he's got his new book out.
Oh, he
So
does. That's right.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm hoping he's going to bring it.
That's
I've messaged
awesome.
him, but he's busy.
Yeah, he's Luke Gygax. I know. I had like my little. So I've worked. I was a journalist for 20 years prior to running companies, and I've worked from regular, like, worked for NBC Network News. I've done entertainment journalism. I've interviewed presidents. I've interviewed A-list celebrities. I got to meet Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman at Gen Con, and my little fangirl heart was so happy. Like, that was like tops for me, because Dragonlance is the entire reason I am into fantasy and this hobby.
Yep. The original the Dragonlance. For me, it was Dragonlance and it was Drizzt. It was the Crystal Shard trilogy, and it was the original Dragonlance trilogy, and then the second trilogy, which was Time of the Twins and Test of the Twins. Those stories were just amazing. Have you been reading the new?
I have. I
Dragonlance
actually
trilogy?
they had the second of the new books there that they were signing, so I picked it up. It's good. I like it because it's going back to the time of the War of the Lance, and with the character, a lot of the characters we know and love, and the writing holds up to the what I remember the writing to be. It doesn't have the same magic, I will say. It's fun, but
is that because of the characters? Did you want to see them again? Because so without trying to do too many spoilers, you get introduced to a new character. And I was very confused. I was like, okay, it's a new character. We'll have a new set of companions, and then she has her plan, and then we kind of meet the original companions.
Yeah.
And then we go it's a very much oh sorry, I'm going to spoil it for people. It's, it's a time travel story.
It is.
But I enjoyed the second book much more than the first book. The first
Same.
half I was struggling with the first half.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is what's going to happen. And then the second half of the first book was great. The cliffhanger was like, I need the second book now.
Mm-hmm.
But the second book I thought was amazing. It was so well written. It was so nice, as you say, to revisit another part of that time where we've, like, again, spoiler. I'll give you a couple of seconds to mute. Is when you get to see humor.
I know.
And a different story, because he had mentions, but he only had, I think, just the one book written by someone else. And it was great. It was so nice to see them, or to read about them.
And that was like the way to do it. Was I really have enjoyed the second book because it is telling us just we're getting a more in-depth version of a story we've only heard about, and they've done a fantastic job with that. So. And so it was really great to meet Margaret and Tracy and go to their panel and everything. And so I don't know. That was like my huge nerd moment.
So here's another thing about so the new trilogy, and that, as we know, it's traveling through time. And do you watch Loki, the TV series on Disney?
Oh, so good. The season finale's tonight, I believe, for us in the US.
Yes. But I wonder if. So one of my favorite things of the new trilogy is wrestling.
Yes.
And him having a different experience to life. And it's been so nice to see that.
I know.
And then I wonder, is it going to be like a bit like Loki, where is something going to happen to him where we never see him again? This version of him. We've got the original, which was still amazing. Mm-hmm. But we've got this other side of him.
I don't want. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, and I don't want to spoil too much about Loki either. But God, I did not like that actor. I didn't care for the Loki character in the larger films. I am all in on Loki for the TV series, and of course, I was always a wrestling girl, always. And just getting to see this completely different characterization of him, that's still very much him, but it's like him if he didn't endure some of the other trauma that he had previously, and it's like you get to see the best of him.
Completely agree. And I don't want to say goodbye to him. That's the thing. I don't want that resolution to the end of the story to be like, okay, and it kind of it undoes itself, or we've got basically we have a variant.
I know.
And it's so nice.
Maybe they'll pull like what they did with the Doctor and Rose, where she just does get to continue existing, and that version of the Doctor continues to exist in their own world. Wow, I am really loving this yellowy green.
Let's bring up the cameras. Zoom. Here we go.
So I've pulled Mummy Dust from Cuttlefish Colors, which is kind of like a really sick gray, green, yellow, and just kind of putting it on top where I'm going to do the scales here. I really like how flat it is and how it's going to work. And I think I'm going to try to leave some of the Leviathan showing through, that when I do my wash, it might actually really pull through. But I'm actually really liking that color contrast. So that's a fun little find.
That is nice.
I know the one thing about when you do turbo shifts and you are painting, especially when you airbrush a model from the entire, you just airbrush the whole thing. You're almost working in reverse. You're painting in reverse. You're painting in the negative space. So you really have to think about what you're doing differently, because the main color is already laid down, and you have to think about, okay, what am I going to cover the turbo shift with before I put a different color on it? Do I need to do a heavy black or a gray just to even pull the color out and put a different top color on. And how do I want to make this dragon come to life? So my dragons always look very, very rough up for about the first 80% of them until like the last, I don't know, even the last like 15 to 12% is when they really start to come alive.
It's nice.
So that's just a bit of my painting theory.
Steve, how are you doing? We can see you adding some colour now. I'll switch around. Or I'll try and switch around. Is that going in? There we go.
Yeah, so the black finally dried. And I'm just starting to put down ice to nether on the neck and the face. I'm going to use the cool ranch on the crenellations and the bones, and I'm going to do the bee's knees on the horn and the scales at the front. I was just about to say exactly the same thing that you just did, that you have to persevere with it, because at the moment it looks a bit of a hot mess. But it will get there. It will get there. So I'm going to put a darker shade of blue on the speed paint as well. And then there's loads of stuff I want to pick out here. So that was one of my questions, because I've put speed paint on some of the other scales that I want to pick out on the legs. Am I going to have to paint over that in black, do you think? Or do you think I would get away with being able to put some of the Turbo Dork over the speed paint?
I absolutely love using speed paint over Turbo Dork paints, specifically because I use it as a blend. So if I'm going from something dark like the neck to the blue and I want to do the speed paint there, it actually helps blend the two together.
Okay, right.
If
I will do that then.
If you're saying, can the Turbo Dork go over speed paint? It depends on the color. Ice to never will go over a blue and work pretty well, even though it says black on the metal. It depends on every color, and it's just one of those things you have to experiment with. But like People Eater will definitely go over a purple speed paint very well. It doesn't necessarily need to be black. Like the colored metallics work like you think they would. But the turbo shifts are where it gets a little weird. And yeah, like you're seeing with putting it over the neck part, it's like it will look worse before it gets better. As you put on like a thin layer because you don't want to cool too much, eventually once you get 2 or 3 layers on there, then you're like, oh, okay, I see it's doing its cool shifty thing. It's like you said,
you can see the hint of it now, as I move it in the light.
Yeah, and it's too subtle to show on here, but I'm using Peacock over Leviathan, and it really is pulling more of that blue green than green blue, even just like a little bit as I'm trying to bring it in on the face here, because I want to like have more of a blue face and then have it go into the greens when we're talking about like the parts on the wing and everything.
We have some more questions come in, but I wanted to. We're at the top of the hour, so we've got less than an hour to go. But I wanted to catch up on. We've been talking about some new paint lines and paint products, but some of the other things that you guys were kind enough to send over. I haven't shared it with Steve yet, but I'll move my dragon out of the way. Hold on. Let's give me some space. There we go. Let's move this up, move that over. Let's move that there. There we go. And then let's move this one over there. You have a line. These are the silicon dry palettes. So talk us through these. We've got 2 different sizes and the 2 different colors. Talk us through what made you kind of come up with these and create these, and at the same time, while we're doing that, I will bring up some pictures to help us with that.
So let's see. So the
That's all you,
palette,
babe.
That's all me, right? Yeah, let me get some.
Yeah, this was your baby. This was your brainchild.
This was my baby that I've had kicking around for several years, but Meredith was the one that actually like made it into a product. It was one of those things. I had friends in the like creature making industry and stuff in the entertainment world, and my friend Glenn made me a I had an idea for a silicone paint palette because I was just using a chunk of silicone and I'd put paint on it and I'd mix it around. It was really nice because once it dried, you just peel it right off. And he made a cast in silicone of like one of those generic circular paint palettes you can get at the art store. And we used that for years. And it was like, wouldn't this be great if we could actually have this as a product? And we made some ones by hand here. They were very expensive. They were poured silicone and then, big thick chunks of silicone with little paint wells in it. And then these are now our like full production models. These are compression molded silicone. So they basically take like a Play-Doh kind of disc of silicone and put it in a big hydraulic press, and it squishes it into the shape of the mold. Um, these are great for our paints. Like, wet palettes are amazing for regular paint. They really work for longevity. They keep your paint hydrated, but they do not work at all for metallics because water is one of the enemies of thinning metallics because it'll break the medium and thins too well, basically. So if you put a metallic on a wet palette, it's just going to kind of fall apart. So we wanted to offer something as an alternative for our customers. One of the nice things with the silicone, because it's non-stick, it actually dries a little bit slower. It kind of, the little pockets kind of coalesce the paint and it kind of keeps it in one little glob. So you get a little bit more longevity out of your paint when you put it in the palette. And then tangentially, we found out it also works great for like contrast and speed and express colors, which are also paints that you don't necessarily always want to thin out too much. So you can put them in these wells, you can work with them, and by that non-stick action, it's actually nice because you can actually mop up every single drop of the paint too. And again, for our Pathfinder stuff, for our personal projects, we'll do a lot of slap chop because it lets us get stuff out on the table really quick. We built in 2 brush rests. We built in a mixing, like a flat mixing deck in the middle. And then each of the wells, you can kind of see like a little D-pad. I don't know if I have a good close-up of that, but we kind of made like a little D-pad area like you would have on a Super Nintendo controller. So you can pull paint up from each well into the middle and do like little custom mixes. The large size was specifically designed to work with Kit from Game Envy, his wet palettes. So he has a line of wet palettes called the Exemplar Wet Palette, which are beautiful wet palettes. And those palettes do look good. Thank you. And we worked with him. He's a friend of ours. He helped us actually get these palettes made. And his palette comes with like a little flip top clamshell thing, and has a little white plastic insert, like a traditional kind of watercolor holder. And when we saw that, we were like, wait, why don't we just make our new design fit this? Because then you can have a dry and a wet palette all in one. So we did the little palettes, like you can see squeezing it here. We did these because we wanted to have something that fit on everybody's painting desk and you could take with you when you go on a hobby. But then we did a larger version for those people who have kind of the more studio setup and have that wet palette. And yeah, you literally just let the paints dry, and they pop right out. They pop right out. You can see the little nerves breaking through my hole.
Me and this like trying to get Afterburner shaken up is.
Oh yeah, we have these big like 100 milliliter test bottles that we use, and it takes a lot to get them shaken back up again. And they're too big to use our vortex mixer on. It doesn't shake them enough, and it's like, ugh. Yeah, so the bottom of our palettes are like a little kind of, I don't know, like a what do you call it, ice mold, and you can just push the bottom and pop the paint right out. So the video that we showed earlier is me literally just like popping out a whole bunch of paints. I just grabbed one of every type of paint off the wall here at the office and tried them just to make sure they all worked and kind of showed off. But it also kind of goes to this idea that we're a paint company, so we're kind of, and realistically, paint is generally liquid plastic that has cool color in it. And we're trying to be better about being green. And one of the things with that is reusability. And it was kind of killing us to like, oh, I'm throwing away pieces of cardboard, or I'm throwing away the like little plastic pallets whenever they're full of stuff. And so the idea of something that you can just kind of clean when you're done with your session was really nice.
And it does work incredibly well because you're kind enough to send some over, which I've been using because I haven't seen Steve to hand them over. But they do work incredibly well. Now we did have we did like an unboxing, and we were looking at them and playing around with them and seeing what they did. Now there was a few questions that came up, and people were saying that these are very familiar to like fidget poppers, that kind of thing. So I tried it. So what I did is, I put yours to the test, and I bought one. I bought this one because I'm a fan of Spider-Man. So
Heck yeah.
I bought a Spider-Man. But here's the thing. So hands down, it did not work as well as yours. So top notch. Yours scored 10 out of 10. It's super clean, super nice, super easy. Now, and it's probably the main thing is probably due to the color. It's a lot thinner because it is cheap. These are like you can get these in pound stores. This was a couple of £2 on Amazon, but I was using the eyes as mixer trays as best you can. But when you use the white palette, you can kind of see that there's a black, there's like a beigey brownie, and these are some reds. You can see what the colors are, but when you put those colors onto here, they all look the same. And I was like, so which one's the brown, which is the blue, which is the black, and quite quickly you get lost. Now, I went back onto Google, back onto Amazon, trying to find a fidget popper that came in white. I couldn't find one anywhere. The only way I could get something similar to what you've done was paying hundreds of pounds to get them massed. Like, I don't need 500 or 1,000 pieces of silicone. I just wanted one. That was the only thing I could find. So, these are great. These are the right size. Great for travel. Super light. They do what they say on the tin. And as you saw on the video, they do exactly that. So, yes.
Yeah. I just want to say, like, look, if we had known about fidget poppers, we probably would have redesigned our design, but because this has been in the works for so many years, and we don't have children, so there's a lot of things that people are like, this is a common children's thing, and I'm like, cool, we're childless people, and we had no idea. So it's a little bit of like, I don't want to say egg on our face, but for me, maybe it's a little bit of a point of frustration because I saw how hard Greg worked on these. But I'm happy to know that the fidget poppers don't work as well as a product he's been, really working on for like the better part of 5 years. Yep. So,
yeah, it was one of those things where it was like, right as we're being completely honest here, like right as we launched these products, everybody on the internet, on YouTube, discovered fidget poppers for doing mini paints in, and it was like the worst timing ever for our product launch. Because the reality is, you can put paint in them and it will pop out. However, it's not designed for that purpose, and like you said, you can't find white or black. Yep. So it's like, I saw somebody painting at ReaperCon with, they had one that was a shape of a turtle, so it was like green and then like brown for where the shell was and stuff. And, and then they came over to our booth and they saw ours and just bought this immediately and was like, okay, I'm so tired of trying to deal with this weird colored turtle thing. Like, can I just have a regular paint palette that does the same thing? So it's one of those things, like, what were you going to say, honey?
I was just say 100% though. Like, look, we understand it is a higher priced product for what people think it is, and it is because we've spent a lot of time and care into like making sure it's crafted with high quality materials and such. And if you can't afford this, I totally get that, and I'm not gonna be upset with anyone about that. It's just, I'm just like, man, if only we had launched these just like 2 months sooner.
Yeah. Are they going to be available in the EU? That's kind of
up. Big Tough Pete is asking, are they going to be available in the EU? Now, how are you supplying to hobby shops, or is there a supplier who the hobby shops go to?
So we sell through distributors to the UK and the EU. We're looking for better EU representation right now than our current distributor. The UK.
So if you know anyone?
Huh?
I said, so if you know any good distributors in the EU, please hit us up.
It's too hard for us as a small company, unfortunately, to kind of supply directly to stores on that side of the world, or on your side of the world specifically. In the UK, we have 2 distributors, which I don't know if they've picked them up yet. Because we're doing this reformulation with all of our other colors, our ordering is all kind of all over the place because they're kind of waiting for the reformulation to do their big order. So I imagine that the pallets will be out kind of in bigger force in the UK and the EU, probably more in like February or March. Even though they're available now, I think everybody's kind of waiting to order everything at once. So we sell it through a distributor and then they sell to the retailers. Just because it's much more affordable in terms of importation stuff and tariffs and whatnot.
You know, we're sitting here having this conversation, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know how can we get more stuff in the EU? And I'm like, literally, with the other company in talks with a stockist in the UK to like warehouse stuff in the UK and the EU, and I'm like, oh, I should just do this with Turbo Dork too. Why am I not like also tacking on Turbo Dork to this? So I will talk to Chris about that.
That works.
Because
because
an option that you can buy on our website turbodark.com and then have it fulfilled from a warehouse in the EU and the UK would be really beneficial.
Yeah, doing more 3PL style stuff like that, where we stock it there and then it's all encompassed within our website would be perfect.
I'm like, wow, wait, why have I not been thinking? This is the problem when you run 2 different but similar companies, you forget the overlap that can exist.
Yeah. Big Tooth Pete actually had a question I think we missed earlier about Nuln Oil.
I can bring that back up. Here we go.
So one of our favorite ways to shade our paints is actually with I love Nuln Oil. Nuln Oil is liquid talent, and it's people call it cheating, but it's definitely not cheating. It is like what you should do to make them look good. It'll affect the shifting so much as whatever goes black, you're not going to see what's underneath, but it's not going to like hurt the rest of the effect at all. It will make it more matte if you're using the regular version of Nuln Oil,
which
is why
rip Nuln Oil gloss
when it exists, or when it used to exist, was great because you wouldn't lose that kind of semi-gloss effect that our paints normally have. But I think like Meredith loves using contrast paints to do shading on her dragons. Again, you lose that little bit of that matte effect, or has that matting effect. But they're great ways to kind of add a little more depth to jobs. No such thing as cheating. No, I know. I mean, I think about like everyone talks about hobby cheating and hobby whatever, but the reality is they're all just different techniques to achieve a cool product and a result. That Nuln Oil and washes are one of the best ways to do it easily.
I grabbed one of my older dragons. If we wanted to, we can talk a little bit about. So this one,
I'll make it big screen. Hold on.
Yeah, embigify it. So you can see the Nuln Oil. This is one of my like 3rd dragons I ever painted, so it is a little rough. But I've used the Nuln Oil over all this. And this paint, I think, gosh, what was this green I even used? It might have been Appleseed. But I ended up using one of GW's contrast greens over it because it didn't have quite that green flavor I wanted. And I love using the contrast paint to pull it up. And then this was a Nuln Oil gloss, so you can still see that the gloss is on there. But if you are with the gloss from the Turbo Shift, but if you want to, even if you don't have a gloss wash, you can go back and actually dry brush with your Turbo Shift or Turbo Dork metallic paint to bring more of that gloss metallic back out. And that's something that I actually do a lot with our paints, because I kind of like I like the gloss, then a matte, then a semi-gloss look on top. So it just kind of shows that there is a lot you can do. And then I actually used Agrax Earthshade gloss on his belly to cover shifting sands. So
yeah, I think the
one of my dragons.
The webs and the wings at the back, I think, are Electrum or Forest Flux.
Yeah, I think I used both. Honestly, I got really into the weeds there with trying out colors. I also got really sidetracked because I was like, oh, let me just put a little bit of afterburner on Leviathan or on Peacock here, Leviathan. What does it look like? Look at how good our new mix covers. This is a
Yeah,
turbo
that's
shift. This is afterburner turbo shift on top of Leviathan. So that is an orange red shift on a green, one coat, and it's actually showing that. So we're doing a little play testing, by the way. I'm testing out some of our new mix for the first time on the show. So you guys get to kind of marvel at the experiments with me.
Yeah.
This is pretty incredible.
it looks amazing. Yeah, it's it's such a
Wow.
good sheen as well, because you can see it just picking up all the light. I mean, even on this, I mean, we're just,
Yeah.
this is not HD 4K by any means, but
And it still
really picking up the light.
shows, yeah, and it still shows the Leviathan underneath it, because that's something I like with my dragons is, I want their leathery bits of their wings to be a nice contrast, but if I can still keep some of that body color in there,
Yeah.
damn. So sorry, happy little accident here, and I'm quite excited about it.
Do you find that a lot, where you just kind of have an idea for something and then different things, as you say, the happy accident?
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that
Yeah,
a lot with your paints?
I would say it's even just because like Greg and I have different approaches to how we paint and what our philosophies for painting. So, he might create something with one intention and I'll come in and be like, I'm going to do this. And he's like, that's not how it's used. And I'm like, yes, but it works. And it shows that we can really push what we're doing. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, I would even agree. I would even say, yeah, a lot of our stuff is happy accidents. For as much thought as we put into designing some of our colors, like I said, some of my favorite colors are happy little accidents.
So there's a thing in terms of organic chemistry that they joke about as specifically like paint formulation and stuff as being bucket chemistry, that you like throw a bunch of stuff into a bucket and you mix it up and you don't know why it works. And a bit of a dark art, and a lot of our stuff is that sort of like try it and find out, see if it looks good or not. And yeah, like Meredith said, like we both have very different painting styles. Like I airbrushed this dragon to get it ready for the stream. I'm of the like I always airbrush everything pretty much like one color, one of our colors, and then I go back in and do the details. And it's a very different painting style than the way most people do it. But I really like our color, and I like seeing our color on big surfaces. And I came at this hobby from wanting to paint Space Marines and stuff, so I kind of assumed people would be doing like one color. But then Meredith, like on her other green dragon, will combine like 5 different paints in like one area, and I would never have thought of that. So it's as kind of dumb in marketing as this sounds, like it's nice because Meredith and I get to balance each other with kind of how we approach things creatively.
What's the biggest thing you've had to, like, have you done like painted a car? What's the biggest thing you could put on at a convention in Turbo Dog paint that you could bring out and say, this is what we do?
Oh yeah.
she getting a Tiamat.
She's getting a Tiamat. I think Tiamat's probably the largest thing that we've painted.
This thing.
And that's only one wing on the
It just doesn't have the tail. That's not even the right side of the wing. Sorry, it goes like this.
Oh, right, wrong wing.
Wrong side. Here we go. Tiamat.
There we go.
My large format miniature that is all in Turbo Dork paints, contrast, and Millen oil. And I can't wait to finish her. I'm sorry, she's Takesis. She's not Tiamat. I painted her in Takesis colors.
Yeah,
because the blue and the green had shift. It's very, God, wow, I'm such a nerd. Wear my glasses so I can go, well, actually.
Yeah. Here, hold the wing up to your face just to
I mean, we were talking about this before we went on air. It's like bigger than a chicken wing, bigger than a turkey wing. This thing is insanely huge. How heavy is that mini?
Honestly, maybe like 10 pounds. It's not that heavy. It's pretty lightweight. Yeah, maybe 14 pounds. I don't know how that translates to stones.
A small dog.
Yeah, it's like definitely a small dog. Oh, yeah, I have a cat that it's about as heavy as some of my cats, my chonkers.
What did the cat think of it?
The cats have not met Tiamat yet, so um thankfully. Oh, Greg is actually going to go weigh it. That's so funny. If we just had the box, I'm sure it actually has the ounces on it. Um so funny. Sorry, I'm just like still amazed at like how I'm really liking uh this afterburner on this Leviathan. I can't wait for it to dry to put some Nuln Oil on and actually make it look more complete. Happy
Well, I've
accidents
been
in painting. I'll go on. Yeah,
over
what are you
here.
guys doing? What are you doing, Dave? You haven't shown off your stuff.
Well, this one is I'm trying to. I've done a mix of different bits and pieces. Let me see if I can make my dragon bigger. There we go.
Ooh.
So I started with the black, and I've just started to put some afterburner on. But the black is still tacky, so I did a small area just to test. Again, it might not get finished today. For those of you who are interested in our dragons, we will be painting these again next Saturday and the Saturday after. We've got some different pro painters joining us. So we will continue to evolve these. These are so big, we were never going to finish these in a session, but we will be posting stuff on Instagram. Hopefully Meredith and Greg will post theirs on Instagram too, and you'll be able to see the close-ups, because webcams are not that great at doing this, but we'll get some proper photos out to you. But the idea is I'm going to do the whole chest, but you can see the face. I've used a mixture of speed paint, and what I want to do is I can't really get into the eye there, but I've done the black eyes because I want to do turbo shift paints on the eyes, just so they're very highly reflective. I've also tried to do some wet blending on the bone struts and the red skin. I've got the bone teeth. They've had a meal recently, and the inside of the mouth is all nice and red and sort of bloody in there.
What color or what speed paint did you use on the bones? Because that looks really good.
That's the pallid bone.
Oh, okay, nice.
I absolutely love it. I use it on a lot of undead, so things like teeth and bone. I think it's got a beautiful color to it. Great coverage on that. And then the skin is blood red from eye paint, speed paint, and the inside of the mouth is slaughter red.
Ooh.
So I like the dark shift on those.
Yeah, I'm waiting for our stores locally to get the individual bottle rack or the rack for the speed paints.
Yeah.
We have like a set or two, but there's a couple more colors I want to pick up.
Yeah, we have like 16 of them. So he was 2.5 kilograms, so not too heavy.
Okay. Heavy enough. So that's good. We have. There's another question. Dragon Skull Studios, who's also based in the States. Have you tried dry brushing any of the Turbo Shift colors?
Absolutely love it. One of my favorite applications for our colors. I'll use them after I've done a wash, especially if the wash is a matte wash. I'll go back and dry brush some of the whatever the base color of my Turbo Shift color was on it. I've also used just some dry brush of our colors on other projects if I want like a little bit of sparkle and pop. It's such a fun little effect. I've used it on the inside of cloaks if I want to do like a magic cloak. I've done it on obviously like organics and dragons. Yeah, it's really fun. Like again, that was just one of those happy accidents. I was working on a little blue dragon, basically a ice crystal dragon, and I started dry brushing some crystal cavern on just some black and blue that was on there. I was like, wow, this is actually looking like ice crystals on it, and it was such a fun effect.
Okay,
I'll have to find a photo.
You're gonna make me go and get my frost giant. Hold,
Yeah.
I've got it in a box below me. But you mentioned ice, and I used your shift paints to make ice. Bear with me.
I don't know if I can get this on the camera. Our friend Lee Schneegel painted this guy for us, and he painted it fairly traditionally, except for he dry brushed.
Sorry, there we go.
He painted a fairly traditional paint job. Oop.
Where's Steve from?
Oh, there we go.
on?
Left. Oh, there we go.
Oh, yeah, there we
Oh,
go.
okay. So he did a very traditional paint job. I mean, beautiful mini that he entered in a painting contest that we
Yeah.
hosted last year. But if I can get the little sheen going, he dry brushed like Curacao and Davide on
Oh,
the scale.
wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just a light. I can't do this anymore. Everything's backwards.
No, it's showing through though. It's really neat.
Just the lightest bit to make them metallic.
Yeah.
So everything else is like a normal, old school style paint job. Oh, you can see the thing on the claws. You get some of the Davide coming through on the claws. But then just that hint of shift to give it that like scaly feel. I thought it was really neat.
That's really nice. So here's
That is beautifully painted.
I'm gonna do this one. So here's the frost giant which I used from Epic Encounters,
Ooh.
and this is him. But this is the base color. Just
Yeah.
doing his blue skin. That's just speed paints. But yeah, this was the axe,
Oh, that's so cool.
and that's using your paint.
That is really
And
nice.
It looks amazing.
It looks like ice. It looks like a magical ice axe. I love that.
Yeah.
It really does pick up the shine really, really well. I mean, again, I've just got the spotlight on it, but and that's sort of both sides as well.
That's
So
cool.
it really works.
That's nice.
I also used your paint on the metallics as well. So again, the wrapped around there. That's all different types of all different colors of your metallics.
That's cool.
But yeah,
That looks
I was just again surprised. You can see that the texture comes through. Just that shine as I put it in the light there. It works incredibly well. Still never finished it, but it's on the to-do list.
It's there. It's there to remind you.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. Dry brushing with the shifts and the metallics. That it is a fun, again, another thing that like, was the paint ever intended to do that? Nope. But did we realize that it's yet another application? That's kind of the cool thing about paint, though. You know, like short of eating it, sticking it in your eye, you can do a lot with paint.
One of the other really large surfaces that somebody's painted was a KitchenAid mixer. They painted in Sunset, which I thought was pretty impressive. I wonder if I have any way to bring this up on stream. Let's see.
I know.
Where do I have that?
Dragon Skull, if you are in the US, if you go to turbodork.com, we've got a list of stockists or retailers that carry us, at least the ones that we know of. So you can find your friendly local game store who carries us.
Yeah, in the UK, we're online with Chris at Exit 23 is one of our main retailers.
We met him at UK Games Expo because we couldn't find anyone who sells your paints over here in the UK. We don't really have game stores. They're few and far between.
Yeah.
And when you think that how small the UK is, you think there'd be loads, but there's not. But out of a giant warehouse convention hall, there was one dealer who was Chris Paints, and he was selling your stuff, and people were queuing up to buy it. So
Aww.
there is a need, there is a want. We just can't get enough of it. So that is definitely a problem we need to fix.
I think we have our paints in Element games. A couple of
Element.
And I think the Outpost. It's just been hard. It's hard to do international stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, and then your government did that crazy thing with Brexit and just had to make taxes all nuts. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, the B word.
Well, that is what when we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Because I used to own a comic shop, so import-export business from the States into the UK. and I did that for 20 years. But as soon as they announced Brexit was coming, we knew about the shipping rates going sky high. We were like, okay, that's the end of our business. We go and do something else now.
Yeah. Let's just go be streamers now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the comic
Slowly
shop
getting better.
was always another kind of it was a hobby turned business turned hobby again, and a very big passion of mine. But I still had I'm a designer in my day job, so it's having a hobby business on the side was always quite fun.
I bet. Yeah, I never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I'd be working in this industry, let alone CEO of two beloved companies in this. I've just been a fan my entire life, so it's still wild to me that I get to, be in the same spaces like the people I grew up enjoying their creations.
Yeah.
So you see, I kind of messed up and got some afterburner on his non-wing part here, so I've just gone in with a little bit of black, and I'll go back and fix that with some Leviathan. I'm also just a very messy painter. I'm not good at painting in between the lines.
You've got Aspire Painting saying, really looking forward to the new formulation. Not very big on airbrushing, and I'm stoked to have better brush on coverage. So again,
it's so good.
Another one in your favour. We had Big Tough Pete. Are you still out there? Was there another question from Big Tough Pete? So Pete is actually we know Pete. We've met Pete. He's based in Germany. He's an art teacher.
Ooh.
in a school, and he has just set up a hobby painting group for after school and during school. He's doing different bits and pieces over there.
That's really cool. Well, if you need some sample paint, we can always. I mean, I know it's a little bit of we can ship it there. I'm always big to helping charities and students.
Yeah.
Cool. Big Tough Pete, did you? I hope you heard that.
If you're there.
If you're there. If you're not there, you've missed it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my mom.
That was my one. What?
Pat Batchett, my mom.
Oh, your mom. I was like, I heard our mom, and I'm like, my mom's not watching this. My mom's probably watching Real Housewives or whatever right now.
So everybody, this is my mother, Pat Batcha, also known as Mama Dork. Her on.
It's Mama Dork. Hi, Mama Dork. Hello from the UK.
But yeah, Mama Dork is actually our in-studio painter. She paints like so many minis like that you've seen. Like, yeah, I'm super proud of my mom. I started doing all this like 30 years ago with my mom and dad, and she's still been painting this whole time. And a lot of our example photos on our website and in our booth in person are actually miniatures that she's painted. So
fantastic.
She's telling me to find somebody else's paint job right now, which is a fishing lure to show
Should be right up there because I didn't pack it.
I did wonder what was going on. It's like fishing lures. Is that the weekend away? What?
No, Pete, we learned that the fly fishing and fishing community love our paints because they use them to paint fishing lures. Actually, we're stocked by like a French Alps fishing store, which is really crazy and cool.
Wow.
Probably the most random place that our paint is stocked.
Yeah, this is I don't think the one she's talking about, but
this is a rat fishing lure.
I'll make it bigger.
Yeah, I think this is a rat lure. I think for bass fishing, and the back little butt is sky rat, and then it goes in through a couple different colors.
So this is where it comes out to be like, what are people using your paints for? Did you ever think of this?
No.
Fishing? They use my paint for fishing?
Yeah. Oh, and we started getting tagged on it. Well, actually, it was like, that store bought our paints, and it was like, why is a fishing store buying a whole rack of paint?
And I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, that's freaking cool. And then it started popping up, and like all the fishing lure communities have started finding our paints and painting things, and it's. I mean, it makes sense, right? Because fish have a certain amount of iridescence to them, and to do the lures right, you should include that so it's as natural as possible. Of course, people take it as far as to like do pinks and blues and stuff, which I don't know how much of that's really in fish, but like in freshwater,
Quite a bit, actually.
But I don't know. It's been really cool. Every day we find out new things that people have painted with our paints, and it's just impressive.
You should you could you set a challenge, a public challenge in the new year to say, put our paints in the most unusual place, and you will send them some free paint. Like, put them on the next spaceship or the satellite, something that goes into space.
Oh my God! Right? Yes,
Could you imagine?
we should do that.
That would work.
That's a great contest. I love that. I know one of our employees is also an independent dice maker, so she does resin dice. So she uses a lot of our paints in dice, and she has a like gashapon machine, like one of those, like put a coin in and you can get a random dice, and she painted that in one of our colors, the machine. Oh, that's one of your mom's turtles.
Paint jobs. She did
we just had a whole range of bad fishing pun jokes there.
I miss those.
Let's have a look at the.
This is one of those where it's like a couple different colors layered. I know this was Shifting Sands originally, but I think it has some afterburner and some famous lava. And mom painted this up for us to bring to convention.
It's weird because it looks like a bronze model. It's so reflective.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. My mom's a good player.
Yeah, we need to have Mama Dork on next time. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here like messing around with this dragon.
Yeah, we'll get the whole family on. So, when you were talking about fly fishing, yeah, there was. Aspire says, "Turns out your paints are pretty fly."
Nice.
Big Tough Pete says, "You can certainly get hooked."
Oh my God!
And then Aspire comes back with a whole range as a catch.
Oh, those
Really
are some.
bad.
Those are some really good.
Good
dad joke puns.
Yeah.
That we can use for advertising.
Impressive dad jokage.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there you go. There's an idea for the new year. Find someone who's used your paints in the most unusual way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think put your paints in space, turbo in space. That'd be great.
If any ISS astronaut or engineer wants to use some of our paint on the next piece that goes up there, I won't say no.
Well, you mentioned earlier you've interviewed presidents. Can you call in a favor?
I know, right? I wonder how Obama's doing. I wonder what he's up to. Yeah.
I want to get Henry Cable to paint some of his Adeptus Custodes in like Afterburner or something.
Right.
I think that would be pretty hot. The metal flowers are also cool on the website.
Oh yeah, I wonder. There was that girl who was doing those metal flowers.
Oh yeah.
What's her name? I wonder what her came with her.
I wish I could find that KitchenAid mixer. I've looked through all my stuff and I can't seem to find it right now.
Oh, that was fun.
People have tried motorcycle stuff, but we are sorry.
No, it's okay. We got there's another fishing joke. So there's JD from WizKids, by the way.
Oh, cool! Hey, JD.
He says we're fishing for likes.
Yeah, always fishing for likes. Yeah, I don't know much of the WizKids folks myself. I know Justin, that he's pretty much the one that I've interacted and talked with, but I love my WizKids dragons, and I'm not being a corporate shell. I just really love painting these.
Yep.
We have quite the collection now.
I know.
And they are super
dragons.
sharp.
Yeah,
so
they are like stab you in the face.
We are coming to the end. We're going to be wrapping up soon. So get your last bits of paint on, and then we'll do a last little tour, and then we'll get ready to wrap up. But as always, it's always a pleasure to hear from Turbo Dog. Again, it's not a. It's going to sound like a promotion. It's not promotion. I love it. I didn't know what they were when we first got in touch. You sent them over. I'm completely converted. They are amazing.
Aww,
And
thank
I've used them all
you.
the time. They're in when we do, because we also do live painting now at the conventions. We're trying to do it on a bigger scale, but we do live painting. So me and Steve, we've got these little packs that we take, the core key colors that we use, and then any metallics is Turbo Dog. So
Aw.
it's
Well, I
and
can't wait to get.
we always get asked like, where do you get them from? So
Well,
will,
once the new formula is out, we will make sure you get the set in your hands to play with, because it
cool.
is. I'm loving it. I think
Isn't
that's
it
someone
very
else's
much.
slogan, but
For Burger King.
yeah, I think so. It's someone else's slogan, but I'm just gonna say I'm loving our new paint.
We're big fans of stealing slogans too, by the
It's fun.
way. I mean, being influenced by.
You're on the Great British Brush Off, which is a
Yeah.
rip off of the Bake Off.
Fair.
You're fine. You're in good
Which
company.
we're
Somebody said
slowly
earlier. Somebody said earlier about your names of the paints. Actually, I mean that must be one of the trickiest things to keep going if you've had over 80 paints in total. Just coming up with all of these names because they are very inventive.
No, because Greg suffers from pop culture Tourette's, and he will just say something very random out of nowhere, and I'll be like, cool. So now he has a running document on his phone of paint
Right.
names.
Yeah.
So, but it is funny. Sometimes we'll have a color that none of the names work for, and then we have to think really hard about it. And those are never the winners. Those never land as well as the random stuff that comes out of Greg's brain.
You kind of
Yeah,
sneeze and you go Krypton Sunrise.
Yeah,
Yeah, basically.
that's actually it.
I mean, yeah. I'm trying to find something that I can say without necessarily spoiling anything. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's like I just come up with stuff kind of by accident. We've just learned that I need to write it down, and maybe it'll get used later, so we can like rattle off names. Sandstorm I think would have been really good for something. It still could be.
Mhm.
That was from that song from Darude. Doo-ga-doo-ga-doo. Doo-ga-doo-ga-doo. Oh my god, tentacular, glass cannon, medium rare,
Mhm.
ogre reaction. That was
you
gonna be a color.
You mentioned Glass Cannon. Could you do have you done anything with Glass Cannon?
Huh. That would be a good point. That would be a good crossover.
Yeah. I
I know.
don't know if they've ever done mini painting before, but if you do get to do mini painting with Glass Cannon, do put in a good word for us.
I will. I'll actually bug Tristan about it. I have very gratefully gotten to know some of the folks at Glass Cannon, so I'm trying to work with them on another project with another company. So fingers crossed.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, they have come from strength to strength. I love watching them do their live tour, just catching up on YouTube, and then their campaign 2 for Glass Cannon is amazing. Now they've got their new studio. It just feels so comfortable. It's really, really nice.
That's awesome. Yeah,
I love watching you guys.
I really enjoy their show. I met them at Gen Con and really hope things come to fruition. And if I can have some TurboDork fruition stuff with them, that would be even cooler.
Yeah,
Well,
I think our paints have shown up in Dimension 20. I know that studio has our paints.
oh, that's cool.
But I haven't caught up yet. I was still on the first season personally, so I got a lot of content ahead of me.
We're going to be one of the new things we're doing in the new year for Great British Brush Off, and again, this is through WizKids. We're going to be painting Critical Role. So we've got the Critical Role minis. We're going to be painting those on stream. So again, as you can see on the background, we've got WizKids, Army Painter, Vallejo, and Turbo Dog because you guys have been nice enough to send some stuff over. So you're permanently there. We don't change the background. You're just there. always there. So let's go around the table. Meredith, this is looking incredible. Let's have a
This
look at.
is I thought I had one idea and then it went in a completely different direction. So this again, I put afterburner of our new formulation, so it's thicker, more stable. Well, I wouldn't say thicker; it just has is more stable, has better coverage. And this is a turbo shift that normally has to go directly over black. I put over a blue green, and I'm just
Yeah.
like impressed. And I've started to dial in his face a bit with my Nuln Oil. And
Yeah.
again, this is mostly airbrushed. And yeah, I don't actually know where I'm going with him because I had an idea and now it's completely thrown out the window. So this is a hot mess. And in maybe 2 months, he'll be less of a hot mess and I'll be able to show him off. I'll just have to keep bringing him to my painting days when we do painting days.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's an awesome mini. It what?
Love
Maxi or
this. I
whatever
mean,
this thing is. This is huge.
they're the blue dragon and the bronze dragon are two of my favorite sculpts, and I have painted those several times in different colorways. But yeah, he's so nice.
I love the blue because he stands on his own
He
feet
does.
basically. He's
Yeah.
like landed on the ground. While the bronze dragon, which I'm painting, is in flight. He has this flight stand, but it's such an elegant pose. I love it.
It really is.
It's just so big and sharp. So, Steve, how are you doing? Are you still painting?
I'm just doing this last little bit of yellow.
Oh, I'll catch up to mine then.
Thank you very much.
I'll give you more seconds.
What do
Here we
they
go.
say on Bake Off? It's like put down your whatever's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve always.
I always
he's
run
always
over.
cheat. Yeah, he's always cheating. So the black is still tacky, but I've managed to get some. You can see some gold in there is coming through, so it's a very kind of rough. But I'm going to keep adding more to this, so that should really pick up really nicely. Then we got some bone on top. So I'm painting the bronze dragon red, and I'm going to do this whole breastplate all the way down because it covers his. I can't even get it on. He's so big, I can't even get it under the camera. All the way down under his tail and along his spine as well. So the spine goes all the way down the top. So I'm going to do all that in Turbo Dork. So it really shines up all the way down to the tip of a really sharp tail. While the wings are going to be a glorious red, a bright red.
Nice.
And one of the nice things about this particular mini is they've got like battle damage. They've got scars and deep cuts and things. And I think that's going to really come out well. So if, for those of you who are watching, stay tuned to our Instagram. I'm just going to see if I can find the button while Steve is painting. There we go. Check us out on Instagram.com/bandofbadgers. And I'll be putting some photos of this one up for you to view. It will be work in progress. But as I say, we will be back next Saturday doing more, painting more of these dragons with some different painters. So join us then.
Yay.
Okay, Steve, you are now out of time officially.
Could you have stop painting then?
Right, let me swap over. There we go.
Ooh.
Right. So I
Ooh, look
put
at
a
that.
darker speed paint on the legs just to
Are you able to zoom in,
bring
Steve?
it more. I can, yeah. 2 seconds. Come on, mouse maker. There we go.
Because the difference in colour is amazing.
There you
Oh
go.
wow. Yeah, I like that darker blue a lot.
Yeah, it's come out really nicely, and that'll be hopefully a good base then for putting one of the shifters or one of the metallics on all the scales down here on the leg. So I might dry brush set on or might paint it on. I haven't decided yet. This has come out really nice. I love this ice to never on the neck. I might put another coat on. I'm not sure. That's 3 on there at the moment. And I've used the what's the other one called? The darker blue Cool Ranch.
Cool Ranch.
On there. Yeah, that is only 1 coat, so that's not covered properly yet. And then bee's knees on the chest and the horn. That's 2
That's
coats, so
awesome.
I've still got some more coverage to do. But yeah, I'm liking it. It's still very much a work in progress. And there's a lot of details to pick up, but it's gone down really nice. and I've painted quite a lot of front, which is more than I thought I would do.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's come out well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the shift on that neck is really good.
Man, I don't know. I've just actually been inspired of a different way to paint, and now I just want to go to our FLGS and pick up a couple more of these dragons to test something. Because I've just been like, oh, I just had a new workflow that inspired me from this show, you guys.
Fantastic.
I want to,
Fantastic.
yeah. You know, I really want to try speed paint over some other things.
Cool.
Brain is cooking.
Great stuff. So we're going to wrap it up there, folks. To Turbo Dog, thank you very much for joining us. Also, a big shout out to Big Tough Pete, who's watching in the audience. Big Tough Pete, if you're listening, could you just mention something there? Quickly shout out. I need to know that you're still here, because did you hear what they said about your school group? So let us know. I know you're 10 seconds behind. I'm waiting for you to type something. If not,
guys.
I'll see. Okay. If not, I can see if I can pass on your details.
Okay.
But cool. Anyway, so
He
there
said,
he is.
"We got high."
So remember he's 10 seconds behind. So we were talking about that you being you set up your new school group, a model group for painting, because he's an art teacher based in Germany, and Meredith and Greg kindly offered to send you some paints, if that's okay. So if you want to send me the details, or if you want to get in contact directly with them, I can be the go-between or whatever. We can sort that out.
Woo.
But
Awesome.
we'll wait 10 seconds for you to catch up.
Yeah, hi,
can
I'm
sort that
here.
You can wait 10 seconds, and then he's got to type his response as well.
Oh yeah,
then,
it's like
yeah.
20 seconds.
So we'll wait to see if he replies. Oh, there you
There we
go.
go. Well, guys, that's awesome.
Yay.
Thank you.
Well, cool. Well, we'll
Cool.
figure out how to get in touch with each other after
Yeah.
the show then.
Yeah, we'll hook you up.
and then you have to do a dragon for a class project, and then you have to share those photos with us so that we see how it's all gone down.
I bet the school kids would be very good also at where to put the paint. That's got to have a catchy name, isn't it? It's like end of year, where can I put the paint? There needs to be a name for
Workshop that.
that.
Workshop that one.
Yeah.
Oh, well. And on that note, thank you very much for joining us. It's always been a pleasure. For those of you watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Keep those comments coming. Just because we're not live anymore. Not live, not alive. Live.
We are alive, and we're still live.
Yeah. If you're watching this 50 years from now, we probably won't be.
Maybe not.
You never know. We'll be hooked up to something. Anyway, we'll see all of you again soon. Keep those comments coming. Until next time, bye-bye. You got to keep waving. Bye.